Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi, Destiny 2 campaign. This was like a group mission that you had to do. And so I'm not playing with YouTubers, I'm just playing with normal Destiny 2 players. Maybe they YouTube, maybe they not, but maybe they don't, but I don't know them from Adam. So they're going to get to experience the wonderfulness that is my shitty jumping strategy. That's Roxy. Pretty soon Caesar will chime in and then it'll be going good. So if you haven't heard this before, I will squirt the crap out of all of you. Knock it off. All right, that stops them for a little bit, not that much. What I found is in PvE, this bow is perfect for me. In PvP, I don't feel so confident because it takes a long time to draw it and shoot. And also one of the advantages of, as you kill more people, you get to use more of the stasis. I never kill people enough to start getting the advantage in PvP. So I slowly am going to have to wean myself off this. But until then, it's a pretty good weapon. I have a pretty good DPS with it. The problem when I'm playing with other people, that's called foreshadowing. The problem when I play with other people in groups like this, they're used to moving forward. I'm used to just sniping everything and getting there. So I have to kind of change my gameplay a little bit so I can stay up with them. So I need to develop an alternative. Now, this applies to all games. If you're solo, you can pretty much do what you want. But once you get in a group, I mean, you can still do what you want. But it's just going to cause unnecessary friction. So that's kind of like in life, you know, when you are in a group, whether your group's your family, your friends, your team, your division, your work, cohorts. You know, a lot of the time for the majority of people, you're going to have to fit in a little bit. And you may have to be a little bit pliant to fit into where the group needs. Now, this is, again, my incompetence. I get stuck here for a while. I didn't really cut this out because I'm not dying. I'm just slow. Eventually, it's just going to warp me to them because, you know, they have an incompetent teammate. So that's one of the things that you got to think about just in life in general, in your family, in your relationships. I found that you will not have too much success if it's always my way or the highway. There's some cases where you need that. I'll get back to that in a second. So this is like an intermediate part. So you can see I start generating the kills, which generate the ice, and then that's pretty good. I remember the first time after I hit near the level cap and I started playing some of these missions, they were hard. I think this was like 1730, I'm at 1760, so it's still fairly easier. It's not like in the other ones where I was like 1650 and I was 1750. But there's still an advantage to being over-geared for some of this. And it's the part of the week where I got to start doing my PvP stuff. Gambit, I would probably do that. Gameplay's pretty interesting, and I don't die as much in Gambit, but the PvP is, I'm so novice. You know, I know theoretically what I'm doing wrong is I'm running in a straight line. I never look behind me. I don't zigzag. I don't jump. But when I get in there, it's still so new to me that I just run around in a straight line to get zapped from behind mainly. Or then when I go, is that somebody? And then they shoot me instead of just assuming it's somebody. And that's all situational awareness. When are times that you have to do my way or the highway? Well, those are going to be very temporally short times. They're going to be like during emergencies. So there's times when I was in the Coast Guard where we'd be in the shit or it could slide into this shit. I don't mind this kind of jumping puzzle. There's those times when you get in it that someone, and you're usually designated that in the military to take charge of those situations, and then you do it. It's okay. Everyone understands that. You can still do that with a touch of grace where your folks on your team will appreciate you. But as I transitioned from the military into civilian world, that was really hard for people in business to understand that. They liked that I got things done, and they just weren't sure that they agreed with how I did that. And that's a case where you're a high performer, the ends justify the means, and that goes on for, that's a roller coaster. Look at me dying there. That's a roller coaster you could be on your whole life, but that means that you always got to perform. You're always outperforming the negative characteristics that you exhibit. Your performance is greater. Just a math equation. Ronan is so great at what he does, we'll put up with his idiosyncrasies. As you get older, people are less, unfortunately, when I say older, let's say you get over 50, they're less tolerant of that. They still depend on where you are in your business, but if you're not in a position where you have authority over a lot of people, they're not going to really be happy with it. And even if you are in a position, they're not going to be really happy with it. And what I would tell you is, if you're that way when you're 50, it's going to be hard for you, unless you're an extraordinary person, to get out of that. And let's talk about extraordinary. Not extraordinary in the pop culture, just the etymology of the word extraordinary. You're extraordinary. You're not super special, but you're extraordinary in that you have cultivated continuous improvement or change in your life. So it's easy for you to change when you're faced with enough data or enough evidence that you need to change. You change. Even though you were successful doing something before, you're confident enough that if you change, your inherent capabilities will still be good. And so you go ahead and do the change. You have to do that as a parent. One of the YouTubers I play with is a parent, and the thing I remember about my son when he was a baby was that he changed every couple of weeks. I'd figure out how to burp him, and then eventually I cut out all the jumping deaths because you don't want to see that. And he would change every week, and I would have to change the patterns to get him to burp or whatever, and that never really ends until they get 12, 13, where they're trying to become their own people, which we've all tried to do that. All right, this part is one of those situations where once I spawn back in, I get in a spot where I can get everyone. I'm going to get rid of this. I think I get my bow back out, because I'm not killing them fast enough with this weapon. The bow at this point, where I have a lot of enemies spawning at me, I grab one of these things. These are always great in here, and they just kill everything. But I'm going to get the bow, and there's going to come a point where I'm in a really good spot, and it just is the perfect spot for this exotic bow. And I figured out this mechanic, Sloth Moods and Ultimate Shield and I were playing, and we had to do this once. And so the good thing about Destiny is the mechanic, they're not introducing wild new mechanics each time. So we're going up to next level. The map design in this is just absolutely fantastic. I'm not a big fan of those other colors they have in Neptune, but this computer thing's pretty hot for me. I like it. And so coming from the Division 2 to this, at first I was, and now I don't even think about it. The Destiny 2 maps look great to me, and I feel at home in them. And by the way, I tried to do some Division 2 tonight, and I crashed 2 times. I just don't want to play in the game. It's going to keep crashing. One thing about your ultimate skill or your super special, I think I either use it or I'm going to try to use it a lot sooner than I can. So here I am with the bow. I have a higher resiliency in this build, so I'm going to stay alive for a while. Eventually, I'll throw down my self-heal, but you can see my hail barrage is getting up. And that's when I kill people normally. And then, yeah, you see that's just fire. Once it gets going, it's a pretty powerful weapon. You can crowd control and do damage. It's kind of like the trifecta. Except when you do that. So one of the things that I try to do when I don't know what I'm doing, I just try to kill mobs. And sometimes that doesn't, in Destiny 2, that doesn't necessarily advance the story, but it can help you just kind of think of what's going on. And maybe I just keep the other mobs off, the people that know what they're doing. I always imagine the people in the group have done this 100 times, and then when I'm in here, they're just like, geez, this guy's such a noob and he stinks. And no one's saying anything, and that's the powerful thing about all this. A lot of the times, the chains that shackle us are the ones that we create. And so you might spend a long time of your life doing that. You got to get out of the mode where it's my way or the highway. Everyone's not going to always understand your reasons. You got to kind of fit in these groups in life. And that's what's good about games. You kind of can reflect on good experiences, and that's when you probably fit into a team. Number 2, your internal dialogue probably for most people is the worst than anything that most people say outside. What people say outside, you can help reinforce that voice in your head so that it can be. I subscribe to this, and I'm not saying this is universal. This is an opinion now. This isn't like a fact from games. This isn't data. This is just opinion. I'm responsible for my own happiness. So whatever someone says can't make me happy or unhappy. I'm the one that chooses to react to it like that. That's my opinion. I don't know about life any more than anyone else. So, but that's how I try to govern it. So I try not to, of course it affects me when people say stuff, but I can control how much power I give that. And I know that seems really Dancing Wu Lee Masters. I read that book, and I was so happy I read that book. It was a great book. And then it gets it gets driven into the ground so much. For physicists really hate that now and the stuff I've heard. So, but I enjoyed the book when I read it. But yeah, some of it sounds like new age stuff or really flighty stuff. But really, you control all of that. And there's a lot of stories and allegories about that. So it's not out of the realm for you to say that you control your destiny, you control your happiness. There's a lot of thought experiments that can help do that, but I still objectively stink in PvP. That is a fact. So I also will be honest to myself. So try to get along in all your groups. If you're going to be hard on yourself, it's okay, but you're the one that controls that. And we got through this mission. These guys carried me. A lot of people have carried me in Destiny so far, so I appreciate it. And this is Ronan Kazi. Please like, comment, share. Appreciate everyone that's helping out on the channel. I look forward to seeing your comments, and a lot of you have some really good insights. So thank you again. Ronan Kazi out.